Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the ThePCelitist. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd.
And today we have an interesting subject because both you and I, not together, but separately, got to go to a few conventions this last week.
Yes, we did.
I went to GDC Next.
And I went to BlizzCon.
Yes, BlizzCon's a little bigger.
Little bigger, little nerdier. Because yours was more about app development, which means it was a Hipster Fest 2013. But, yes.
You're telling me there's no hipsters at BlizzCon?
No, not a single one.
No?
Nope. Maybe the Alliance people.
They let you in, huh?
They did. I'll let you start. GDC Next.
Well, I have to thank Adam Ames over at True PC Gaming for letting me go. He got an invitation to go as press, and I'm the only, me and you are the only one who live in the area. So he asked if I could go. I made time from work to go, and I got to go in, put on a press badge,
and meet Chris Roberts.
I met Chris Roberts.
Bucket list item achieved.
Yes, I did. On the second day, he was speaking. Oh, get this. This is the high point.
This is what it is.
There was a speech being given by Day 9, Sean Plott of.
If you don't know who Day 9 is, he's a very famous StarCraft 2 broadcaster.
Right, and he basically gave a speech to the developers about how to make your game more convenient for video casting and the like, and what people do when they're posting on Twitch, where they put their self camera and all this stuff. It was really cool to listen to him. Anyway, I started talking to him in the hallway after. The nicest guy you've ever met. Like I really did appreciate that. Every time someone came up to him, like, they know who he is. They're like, Sean Plott, Day 9, what's up? And he's like, hi, I'm Sean, nice to meet you. We just said your name. But,
we know who you are.
Yeah, but he would always just greet you as, he was a really nice guy. And we started talking. We ended up getting coffee in the press room.
You had a date with Day 9?
Yeah.
That's adorable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're having coffee and we're talking, and he had to go because he was going to start streaming a show. But right after that, I get to go into another room and meet Chris Roberts because he was talking about crowdfunding, and I got to go up and talk to him after.
Is it still crowdfunding if you made almost $30 million for your game? It's like
it's
world
a big
funding.
crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big... It's like a super PAC.
It's like the Colbert super PAC, exactly. Yeah. It's not really crowdfunding.
It's a lot of money. And so I got to meet him. I got to meet Tim Schafer there.
Another one of your heroes.
Another one of my heroes. I got to talk to him and ask him some questions. I felt bad because I took the wind out of someone's sails right behind me because they had a Q&A session. So I went up. There was not a lot of press people there. I was looking for other press badges, and there wasn't that many. But I jumped up there and I said, Mr. Schafer, I have a question about puzzles and how you create them. And I know they probably get created in many different ways. But my question to you is, in general, do they mostly come from just the narrative that's being told? And as the main character reaches challenges, you then create a puzzle around that challenge? Or do you invent them for pacing later? Do you have to fill in? I was curious about kind of is it a 50-50 thing? How is it? And he said, well, okay, so basically your question is, where did baby puzzles come from, right? And then everyone laughed. And he basically went through the whole creative process. And that was the exact question the girl standing behind me wanted to ask, apparently. So I ruined her dream by fulfilling mine.
You do that a lot.
So it was a great experience. I got to talk to a bunch of devs, indie guys, and you were able to come down after and go to a mixer.
Yeah, we went to an event called Mix LA 2013. We met a bunch of developers who we're going to be doing some interviews with and some other collaborative efforts, which we're looking forward to bringing you. And then we also went to an Unreal and Engine and App Metrics mixer and met some more people. Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty swanky party.
Really interested in mixing.
No, not really. It was all in 1 week, really. Just this incredible nerd fest that we had, and it was pretty remarkable.
So after nerding out at the Mix LA, you got to run off to BlizzCon.
Right. Anything else you wanted to say about GDC Next before I launch into what I'm going to say?
I had a lot of
big overarching takeaways?
Yeah, my big overarching takeaway was this. This was called GDC Next. This is not the GDC.
Right.
This is like the LA wing of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first year they ever did it. And I was surprised how few speakers were talking about creative rules or, to help make a better game. It was generally guiding principles that, yeah, exactly. There's certain things like when you're making a movie, regardless how creative your movie is, you do certain things in certain ways to help keep the structure of the movie together.
Sparkly vampires, I know.
Yeah. And there was very little of that. It was mostly about business structures.
The industry.
The
industry of making games rather than the art.
Right. I think the only two that were like really, really focused on the art of making games was Tim Schafer's talk, because he was talking about how do you take an old game, like an old adventure style, and make it for new audiences. So there's a lot of creativity talk in that. And then also there's a Kickstarter project that got funded called Project Eternity, I believe it's called, which is a lot of the old Baldur's Gate developers. And he talked about how do you make a game that feels like an old 90s sword and sorcery game, but make it for today kind of situation. So he talked a lot about that. But most of it was very business related. So, and otherwise technical stuff that I wouldn't understand.
Ah, I see.
Programmer talk.
Right.
But that was it. That was my big overarching takeaways.
Okay. Well, BlizzCon, my first time going. I went with a group of guys, one of whom also was his first time, but he's not really into games, so he didn't get nearly as much out of it.
Right.
The guys I went with have been...
Big statue of Illidan doesn't really...
doesn't really do anything for him. He's played StarCraft 2 a couple times, and it's admittedly terrible, but he has not played Diablo or World of Warcraft.
Right.
Yeah, the guys I went with have been to BlizzCon several times. Two of them they work on Diablo 3. I'll just say that. So it was great to spend time with them. It was my first time meeting them. It was get to know them a little better and kind of see BlizzCon from their perspective, since they do it every year and since they work for the company and work on the game. And, I mean, I've just, like, full disclosure, I'm a huge Blizzard fan. Love the StarCraft series. Played World of Warcraft for several years, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. Diablo, not so much. You and Razdow are more on Diablo. I'm more of a Torchlight 2 kind of dungeon crawler guy.
Diablo 2 I loved.
Yes.
Diablo 3 disappointed me.
Right.
But
so while I was there...
C'est la vie.
Right. While I was there, I got to preview the Warlords of Draenor, which is the next WoW expansion coming out. Play Heroes of the Storm, which is WoW's MOBA. They're trying to level the playing field of League of Legends. Trying to get into that business. I didn't play Hearthstone, their digital card game, because I'm not into card games that are not Dominion or Munchkin or Texas Hold'em. And I got to go to the main stage. They talked about the WoW movie. Also, there was the WCS for StarCraft 2, which I got to watch a lot of. So, just first and foremost, I must say this. Stereotypes are true, and they're used for a reason.
This is what you needed to learn that?
It really drove it home when you're surrounded by people. And this is not to be judgmental or to say that I am not at all like this, but physical appearance, you wouldn't guess that I'm an avid PC gamer. I have glasses, yes. But beyond that, I don't look like I live in my mom's basement and play games and never see the light. So many people,
like it.
I don't look like it. We're not the most attractive group, PC gamers. I'll put it that way. Men and women, we're not going to be winning any beauty pageants anytime soon.
Right.
I will say that the 2-day event was a complete drink the Kool-Aid type of experience. If you went in loving BlizzCon, you went in completely drunk with love for BlizzCon. If you went in mediocre, you left loving it. It was a remarkable experience to be completely immersed in all things Blizzard. It was something that I had never really experienced anything like that. I'm not into Comic-Con. I've never been to E3, so I've never been to these types of conventions. The conventions I've been to are IT related and also very nerdy. Not nearly as nerdy as BlizzCon, however.
Not just indoctrinated with fanfare.
Yes, exactly. And so just a couple of key takeaways. One of them was there was actually quite a bit of diversity. A lot of women went, a lot of ethnic diversity. We were all there for the same reason, and I thought that it was really cool to see that. It's not just...
You saw like orcs and trolls and goblins.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of racial divide is what I was talking about.
Only racial divide that matters.
Yeah, no, it's not just... And the one thing where it kind of bucks the stereotype is it's not just white and Asian guys. It is really people who you wouldn't necessarily expect, like just by looking at them. I really thought it was interesting that... You remember when you and I were waiting for the midnight release? I'm going to admit this to you all. The midnight release of Wrath of the Lich King.
That was so much fun.
A few years ago, waiting outside Best Buy at midnight, and we're standing in line, and people, fights didn't break out, but arguments broke out between Alliance and Horde people. And I thought that it was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard, that they were arguing about just the generalizations they would put on the other people about what it means to play Horde or play Alliance. I saw that at BlizzCon. It was remarkable that people they'd get fake tattoos. Some people had real tattoos of the Horde symbol. And people were having arguments over it. I just thought, it's fun if you keep it light.
Right.
Like if you're mocking each other, but if you actually are assuming the other person is terrible. Really? So that was one thing that I noticed that I thought was really interesting. But on the plus side, I will say I love the costume contest. I can't stand Jay Moore, but I love the costume contest. My two favorites was there was a Tuskar, a big walrusy character.
Right.
It was great. And someone dressed up as a Horde training dummy.
Awesome.
It was a great costume. Someone did a very lame proposal, but it looked completely staged because the woman didn't look surprised at all, and it looked fake. But good for you, sir. You proposed at BlizzCon. Congratulations. My favorite part of the entire thing was StarCraft 2, the WCS. I never really watched Pro StarCraft. I've watched a few matches with you, but I've never really watched it on my own. And so I watched several hours of it, and it was remarkable. I'm an avid sports fan. I've been an athlete my whole life, so I've played in a ton of sports. I've played at tons of sports, and I've also been to several professional sports games. And there's a collective effervescence in the audience. And it's, whether you're cheering for, or against the same team, doesn't really matter. There's this energy that's moving through the crowd.
Right.
I will not say that Pro StarCraft matches rise quite to that level, but there's a palpable energy in the room when everyone in the auditorium, or the convention center rather, is watching these games, and everyone knows what's going on. No one in this crowd is good enough to do what they're seeing, right, but they recognize how difficult it is to do what they're seeing on the screen. And the broadcasters do it, and Day 9 was there broadcasting too, and they do a very good job of keeping the energy up.
Right.
I think DJ Wheat was there as well, and so they do a good job of knowing when to speak and when not to. And so I thought it was just a great experience being around people who just they saw the tactics that were being used, they could sense what was coming, being able to have that full spectator vision. So it was an amazing experience to be around people the whole weekend where you knew you weren't being judged. You were being judged on the little things, like within the context of BlizzCon, someone was judging you for being, playing for Alliance or something like that. But
which you have every right to be embarrassed about.
Exactly. But you're in a room where you don't at all feel ashamed about cheering loudly for a StarCraft match.
Right.
And I just love that. And it's not like I crave that here. It's not like my wife makes fun of me for that kind of thing. She'll tease me about it. But when I came back and I told her, I said, Woodsie and I, we're going bar crafting. Like we're just gonna go. Because it's such a fun experience. And if you haven't been to BlizzCon, you ever have the opportunity to go, I encourage you to go just at least once, right, to get a flavor of that. And if you don't happen to like Blizzard, then don't spend the money. That's fine. But these conventions...
Just befriend some Blizzard employees like you did.
Well, yeah. It was pretty cool. So, those are my thoughts. It was the kind of... It's not like I'm suddenly going to get back into playing WoW or start playing Diablo 3. But I'm such a fan of the company because they know what they know what they're doing from a business standpoint. But they also are fully aware that they have a multitude of fans who love them for different reasons. They know they can't please everyone, but they still do a remarkable job of pleasing the vast majority of their fans almost all the time. And they know they make mistakes, and they're not afraid to just admit them and move on.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad to see a company that does that, because normally you're kind of skeptical of a game company that big like EA doesn't seem to care what a lot of their fans say about the negative games. And I know, like, Call of Duty, for example, Activision Blizzard, I get that, so I don't really consider that Blizzard's fault. Anyway, so those are our thoughts on some of the conventions we've been to recently. If you have been, or you were there, I'm sorry I didn't announce it earlier, because I didn't want to see you there.
You're true. Mean.
I know.
Please, if you like what we do here, subscribe, thumbs up the video. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd. Also check out our exclusive content, mainly duel reviews, on TruePCGaming.com.